Hello, this is Scott Campbell. This is a presentation on assessments. During this presentation, I will be going over assessment types, pools, Respondus Exam Maker, rubrics, minimize cheating online, Respondus Lockdown Browser, Safe Assign, and feedback. One thing I want you to take away from this presentation at the very least is that whether it be an exam, a writing assignment, or whatever, the quality of an assessment is directly proportional to the quality of the feedback. With that in mind, there are three types of assessments types: diagnostic assessments, formative assessments, and summative assessments. There are examples underneath each one of these, and each one of these can be done online. Brainstorming can be done by wikis. The scavenger hunt can be done by discussion board, and surveys can be done by tests and surveys. Under formative assessments, you can do this by journals, and then with student-generated questions, you can use StudyMate. Again, quizzes can be done by tests and surveys. Under summative assessments, demonstrations can be done by Collaborate, as well as oral reports. Now, written reports can be done by assignments or Safe Assign, and exams can be done by test surveys. When a student is presented with an online test, if all the tests are the same, they're going to discover, hey, I can make some money off of this. So, one of the easiest ways to do this is to ensure that every student gets a different exam. If they get a different exam, let's find out how we can do this. We can do this through pools, by various pools that do different levels of Bloom's taxonomy. Let's see how this is done. By using the binomial distribution probability, we can produce pools of sufficient size to minimize the chances of any two students having the same exam. By using this equation, it produces a stepped graph. Now I want you to pay attention to m over 2 because that is the highest point in this stepped function graphed out. Now I have taken the liberty of doing the first 12 of that equation that was shown previously. As you can see, the numbers in red are the highest in their corresponding rows, and that's usually around m over 2. For example, if you wanted to have an exam of 5 questions, the highest number of questions in the pool to ensure the minimum probability of any two students would have the same exam is 10 questions. Now, that is the minimum number of questions. If you add another question to number 10 to make 11 questions, that reduces the probability even further. Now, for multiple pools, as you can see in this equation here below, it is the product of the number of pools. So in this case, if we chose 5 out of 10 questions for 2 pools, we would have the product of 252, which is 63,504. Needless to say, if you have a class of 30, the probability of any two students having the exam is exceptionally low. Now, this is the reason why you would have different pools. You would have different pools based on topics and objectives. You could produce one pool for topic 1, another one for topic 2, and another one for topic 3. If in this particular example, topic 3 builds on topic 2, which builds on topic 1, you can extract a different number of questions to weight the higher topic accordingly to produce an assessment in this particular case of 20 questions. In this particular example, if you did this, the probability of any two students having the same exam, it is a mere 151 trillion to 1. Now if we went a little bit further and based pools for the different levels of difficulty, in this case we could have different pools for the varying levels of difficulty for topic 1, true false, multiple choice / multiple answer, an essay, and weight the questions accordingly. Now let's take a look at this assessment for all 3 topics to produce this 20 questions. We now have a combination of pools for topics and difficulty producing a single assessment of 20 questions. Further, we could weight the points based on the difficulty and the topic of the question. In this particular example, since topic 3 is more difficult than topic 2 and is more difficult than topic 1, we have weighted topic 3 much more higher than topic 1. In addition, Once you've produced pools for a single exam, you can go on and do the same thing for multiple exams, and then reuse the questions for a final exam. Now the Respondus for Exam Maker will make various types of questions. This is a window-based program. It can make multiple choice, true, false, matching, ordering, fill in the blank, multiple answers, calculated, either or, file response, opinion scale, numeric, quiz bowl, or fill in multiple blanks. The benefits, if done correctly, is that the pools will allow you to assess all learning outcomes, and the assessment will be uniform difficulty from one student to another student. Now, there is a problem: assessing question effectiveness. Since there is no way to do a statistical analysis of how the question behaved in a particular setting, because not every student had a particular question, you have to do something to alleviate bad questions being in an assessment. And this is where feedback comes into play. Remember, the quality of an assessment is directly proportional to the quality of the feedback. You produce the question, the answers, and then the feedback, which in turns will feed upon the question. Because if the feedback does not address the question properly, then the answers will not correlate properly, and neither will the feedback. So this produces a loop. One way of doing feedback is through rubrics. The qualities of a rubric are easy to understand by anyone. They assess all objectives to be achieved by the assignment. They define standards to help students achieve goals, and they yield consistent results even with different instructors. Now let's take a look at how a rubric would be produced. It is produced by a two-dimensional grid. Each row in the rubric represents a criteria, either by grammar, structure, critical thinking, or the objectives. Each column represents a level of achievement. It can go from mediocre to absolutely fabulous. Here is an example of a rubric. You can see you can change the points based on each of the objectives or criteria. You can go from minimum indicators all the way to superior indicators. But there's something wrong here. Let's see what's wrong. If you had put this in a syllabus and told everybody this is how you're going to assess a paper, somebody who did not turn in the paper would automatically be forced to get 4 points. So we have to correct it this way. We have to ensure that there's 0 points. Also, each particular level of achievement has to be precise. Remember, different instructors should be able to use this rubric on the same assignment and obtain the same grade based on the criteria within the rubric. So, if you're going to have multiple points in a particular level of achievement, make sure you have the same number of indicators based on the point spread of that level of achievement. Here's a simple grading rubric for discussion postings. Now let's go into written assignment response. Typically, if the paper was done, you would have great job and then maybe a few more comments, not much. And then if somebody did poorly, they would get a D or an F and then get a message saying, "Come see me." Needless to say, this is a poor response. Here's something better. Before the assignment is even given, make a master response paper based on what you know how students typically do in a particular assignment. You're capable of adding on more information so the students, when you have their undivided attention, they can do more research. In addition, they will all have the feeling that you've given them a personal touch because you will have turned their feedback on their assessment into another learning opportunity. Remember, turn your feedback into a learning opportunity. Now let's look at automatic graded items, such as multiple choice, multiple answer, true, false, matching, and hotspot. When doing feedback, not only address the STEM, the correct answers, but also do each of the distractors as well. It is important to address all aspects of the question. Instructors have so few opportunities to assess student learning outcomes. Therefore, take advantage of the opportunity to its fullest, meaning that each distractor should be plausible. Now, let's look at minimizing online cheating. If you use the effective use of pools, no two students will have the same exam. You can also use multiple choice to your advantage by randomizing the distraction order. If you do randomize the distraction order, you will have to avoid all of the above or none of the above. Instead, use all of these or none of these. But better yet, instead of using multiple choice, use multiple answer. This forces the student to evaluate each of the distractors carefully. It puts the student out of their comfort zone. Now, let's look at the test availability window. It should be reasonable but not restrictive. Here is an example of what not to do. One instructor limited the test window to 2 hours, and this forced every student to take the test. So they went to the lab and collaborated on this test. The instructor was well pleased with the class because of the high grade average of the class, until a student came forward and said what happened. When doing the test availability window, you can be magnanimous. Thus, the student's own priorities will come into play and reduce the probability of collaboration because they're all taking the test at different times. Also, in the test when you are available, such as 8 a.m. on a Monday morning, so that if a student does have problems, you can be in a position to make the call. Timing of the test window. Take the test yourself. Now, unless you are a speed reader, generally, the timing of the test window should be 2 to 3 times the amount of time it takes you, the instructor, who has the knowledge and who is not under pressure to take that exam. So if it takes you 10 minutes to take an exam, set the time for 30 minutes. The last idea is the Respondus Lockdown browser. Now, this custom browser, like Internet Explorer, Firefox, or Safari, works on both PCs and Apple computers. It is integrated into the Blackboard environment. It can also be used without having to be installed into an operating system, such as when a student is at a library. While in the exam is displayed as a full screen only, and other monitors will be blanked out. Task switching is disabled. Print screen, and capturing screens are also disabled. Copying and pasting is disabled. Right-click menu is disabled. Browser menu and toolbars options are disabled. Unauthorized links are also disabled. When dealing with assignments, on the other hand, SafeAssign is a godsend. It is an online automatic plagiarism detection tool. Now, instructors should avoid gotcha. Allow the students to submit drafts to ensure they are citing their material correctly. This will also give them a heads up to whether or not they are plagiarizing. If you decide, you can run a sample report. It will give you the source, highlight it so you can check how much it was plagiarized, the percentage, and will even give you the information of where it came from by highlighting. Thank you. Have a good day. Bye-bye.